What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you more Splinterlands content today, and I have a fantastic guest on, IVIaxPow3r from the ARCHMAGE team. ARCHMAGE.app is here to chat, and this is round number 2 for us, and I'm super excited because, as I said, as soon as you popped on, I was like, man, I missed your energy. I missed, I missed talking to you. So this is fantastic. I'm glad we got to make this happen. But first and foremost, my friend, how are you doing? And how is everything going on the IVIaxPow3r side of things? Then we'll jump into the ARCHMAGE side of things.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, things are good. Things are good as always. It's in light of this whole crypto winter that we're going through, the bear market. It's been like, honestly, I don't know about everybody else, but I love being part of what we're doing in the play to earn crypto game side of things. In that I'm not super worried about what's going on in the market. I know a lot of people are, because the things that we're playing with, the things that we're investing in, they have utility, something that we can do with them. Even if the values have changed, at least there's a game that we can play. There's cool discussions and lore and awesome music that comes out to help enforce that by folks like yourself. That
thank you.
Yeah, you got it. That anyway, that we can enjoy something that isn't strictly the green candlesticks or red candlesticks discussion. Like
I said, I mean, I love Bitcoin, but I can't play with it in the bear market or bull market for that matter.
Exactly. So yeah, things are well. I am tired, so forgive me if that happens to come through.
You could have had me fooled, but no.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. You turn on a camera and like my energy goes through the roof. So that's the way it goes.
That's what matters. Cool. I'm glad to hear about that. Obviously, we want to talk about all the cool stuff that ARCHMAGE is working on. So I figure we start right there and then see where things go. So however you want to go about it, what is cool, new, and happening within the world of ARCHMAGE?
Yeah. So I mean, the basic idea is that we have a billing update that's come out, and to give a real quick backstory for that, the service has gone through a number of iterations. We launched an early access and made tokens available for alpha and beta tokens, ultimately sold out of beta tokens, launched into pre-sale of standard tokens, and that I think that's really about when we had our discussion, was kind of when that was hitting a fever pitch. Yep.
It was like middle of summer, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. And during that time, we were still in what we would consider a pre-launch, right? We the full rollout of the service always intended to have a billing system built in. The token sales weren't really intended to be the way that the project was sustainable. The token sales are largely there as a limiting mechanism for us to be able to control scaling, right? We want to make sure that when users come in and try and use the service, that we're able to service them effectively, and that's what the token sales were there. And as such, anytime that we released them at a retail rate, the pricing was always intended to be actually fairly reasonable. We weren't trying to make a bunch of money off of it. We released the alpha and beta tokens at $10 each. And since then, the pricing has obviously gone very differently for those. The standard tokens we released at $25 because the demand showed that we probably should be higher, just for sake of, we didn't want the token price to be really attractive to massive amounts of accounts. We wanted it to be at least enough of a limiting factor. Anyway, excitingly, we are actually going to be, this is one of the announcements that we made, but I'll get it out of the way right now. We released those at $25, but the intention was that we had a little bit baked in to account for the fact that we didn't have billing ready, right? We didn't have a recurring billing ready. We will be now releasing tokens at $20 is our intended retail rate moving forward. So they're a little bit cheaper on the front end because we don't have to factor for the lack of billing.
Yeah.
And so over time, when we first released the tokens, though, there wasn't any other cost. There wasn't any other billing baked in. But that was always the intention. That was in our white paper. It's been around ever since we launched. About a month and a half ago, I think, is approximately when we launched it. Just before that, Splinterlands had come out with their rewards delegation system, which actually solved a problem for us of how do we take care of these fees in a way that we can have set up to be easy doable by people, and as much as possible avoid having to do a bunch of unnecessary coding and maintenance around a billing system, rather than being able to focus on services and features and stuff like that. So that system sort of took care of that for us, and we launched under that system. Initially, we set our initial billing costs at what we considered the upper end of what we might need. And a lot of people were skeptical about this in terms of, what like that we were actually intending to lower the price, but we were always from the beginning. What we wanted to do is we wanted to see when we launched billing, we knew there was going to be attrition, right? We knew that some people weren't going to continue once billing was in play, just because that's always the case. Anytime there's another transaction, some people won't continue, right? So we wanted to see what our real take rate was, see what those numbers looked like, and then be able to adjust down once we saw those real world numbers after a few seasons to see what they look like. And that's what we've done. So that's what we've rolled out. We rolled this out. Actually, when did we roll it out? I think it might've been last week. I'm looking at the date. No, just a few days ago, 4 days ago, it looks like. So we rolled out an update to change billing and to reduce fees, and to also fix a couple of problems. So let's go ahead and talk about some of that. So first off, we got a lot of feedback during that period where we launched billing, right? There were three main things that people talked about. One, people said that the fees were too high. And part of that, I think, was the way that we launched was based on a percentage of staked SPS, and people were only seeing the number and not necessarily seeing everything that we were helping them earn and the percentage of what we were charging compared to the total earnings, if that makes sense. But the other thing was that, again, we had always intended to come down, right? So we weren't too worried about people saying that, because our intention was always to come down anyway once we saw real world numbers. So check, we're solving that, and I'll explain more about that in a second. The other thing that was a problem is that when we launched without fees, one of the big groups of users that we got was what I would call a mixed play user. And a mixed play user is somebody who they're leveraging ARCHMAGE for some level of their games, but they aren't trying to exclusively automate their play, right? They're playing manually a lot. They're during a season, they're mixing between the use. Sometimes it's even as low as just trying to make sure that their ECR doesn't get to 100% so that they're maximizing that ECR usage. Other times it's more like, they're taking the weekend off or something, but they're playing during the week, that sort of thing, where there's that mixed play. And the way that we had our billing set up initially, honestly, made it not a good fit for those people, right? It was really set up. It made the most sense for people who were just going to automate completely, and at least for a season at a time, right? It didn't allow much adaptability. And so the reality is we have always been, as a project, about the game, about loving the game, about enabling real people and real players. And so it was a big thorn in our side that we didn't have a good solution for those people. So that was an important thing for us to solve. And that's part of what we tried to solve with billing, is to make it viable again for mixed play users. Now, the reality is, for sake of revenue, going after the mixed play users actually isn't like the biggest revenue maker.
Really?
For us,
Okay.
If that makes sense. It wasn't a play that's going to be like, hey, this is going to make us a bunch of money. It was very much we wanted to be able to serve those people because we care about the ecosystem. We care about, we're not trying to get everybody to stop playing the game. We want to, enable automation where it makes sense, but still, like, all of us, the team at ARCHMAGE, most of the people that are part of it, we often dive in and play the game manually, even though we have automation at play, right? So anyway, so it was important to us to be able to fix that, and what we updated helped with that. The third thing that's a kind of a big thorn in people's sides was the sharing of jackpot chests, right? So they're very rare in what we've seen for the over 1,000 users that we have, and we've now done 2 seasons completely, and we might have just completed the third. We might be in the third. I forget exactly where we are on the number of seasons. In that total amount of time, the number of what you might consider a jackpot chest that have come through could be counted on one hand, right? It's not a ton, so it's not actually a really common thing. But that being said, there's a psychological principle there, and we definitely, if we could find a good way to help deal with that in a way that didn't require crazy complicated systems that weren't actually going to work in terms of being able to work with people on that, that we're down for that. And this update that we made helps at least partially with that. It doesn't completely get rid of the jackpot jackpot chest scenario, but it at least partially helps with that. And so what we did is, before when we launched billing, we required a rewards delegation depending on the token that you held for ranked battle rewards, daily focus chests, and season chests. And that was only on the staked SPS that you earned through those, not on the cards, not on the packs, and then also not on the unsellable assets like merits and potions. It also didn't have anything to do, or we also didn't take any percentage of any leaderboard prizes we might help people win, and then also things that just are completely unrelated, like Brawl SPS, license rewards, pack SPS. We didn't take anything from those either. So it was exclusively on the things that we helped you earn and exclusively on the staked SPS itself. And that's what the percentage applied to. So what we've done is we got rid of season reward delegations, period. So now users are only required to delegate ranked battle rewards and focus chests. No longer do we participate in the season chests whatsoever. And
interesting.
So what that does mathematically is that equates to an average decrease of about 15% in our overall fees across the board for every user of ARCHMAGE. So it's about a 15% reduction. And then on some of the other things, what getting rid of those season chests lets us do is it makes it so that users can essentially turn on delegation and run the bot during the days that they want automation, and turn it off on the days that they don't. So turn off the delegation, turn off the bot, and so people can hop in and out at least on a daily basis pretty readily without any trouble, without any consequence, without us getting into a vein of needing to decide, do we need to turn on season or not? Because season chests are just not part of it anymore. So so it really fixed that mixed play for us, at least in most cases, right? It's not perfect. Ideally, we'd love to have it be battle by battle rather than day by day, but day by day is better than season by season, if that makes sense. So a 15% reduction for that. And then on the jackpot chest, we figured out that for most players, by getting rid of season chest, we've eliminated about 50% of the potential jackpot chest that most players are earning. And not only that, we got rid of the jackpot chests that are generally the highest value chests that they might earn as well, right? Because they, your season chests generally are whatever the highest league that you've achieved. So they're often the most valuable chests. So we got rid of the most valuable chests and about 50% of the total chests, which helps with making it less likely that any jackpot chest you might get that we'd be participating in. So we at least increased the chances that when jackpot chests come through, you get to keep all of it, and we don't have to worry about those percentages there. So that's the update. Is the removal of those season rewards delegations. Again, it's about a 15% decrease in fees overall. We did hold true to our word. We did lower fees. We weren't just trying to start high and then keep it there. We looked at the numbers and figured out that with that 15% loss in revenue, we could still be sustainable as a project and also solve these other problems. So that's a quick update there. Any questions for me on that?
No. I mean, I think a lot of the community and users are happy or will be happy with that information. Here's what's funny. It's like I heard a lot of the very negative feedback that you guys were getting when the fees rolled out, and I just kind of rolled my eyes and shrugged my shoulders at it because you know what's funny, and I've been on this personal journey myself with the relationship I have with this game and this investment, right? And I'm really doing my best to separate out both. From just a principle standpoint, right? You guys are offering a service. Here is the amount that you are paying. You said that this was coming, and you were offering it without that fee initially. And if they want to leave, then they can leave, right? And again, that's just from a principle stand. Here's the service you're offering. If you do not value it at that level, That's fine. But you guys are offering a service to the community. At the time, you were one of the first. Seems like you got some competition coming up now. So, you know, and we can dive into that if you really want to. We don't have to. But I'm always, I mean, I love you guys. I'm just saying, I think competition is good for the space.
Oh, absolutely.
Competition breeds innovation. But aside from that, you know, the point was that like you guys were offering a service and nobody knows what it takes for you to keep the lights on and everything running. And I want to say that I've appreciated the approach that you guys have had, the transparency that you've had, and really the principled approach, because I think you guys made botting cool. if I can be so bold as to make a claim, you guys made botting cool. And so before that, it was viewed very poorly. And I think the fact that you guys kind of had this principled stance of like, you know, we're the good bot. And the thing is, like, I always laughed at the way that the community flipped on this, because again, it had nothing to do with you, right? Actually, it had everything to do with you. But the funny thing to me was just like botting is still botting. It's just now you can do it too, right? Like for a fee, like somebody decided to be the Robin Hood of this situation and make it available to everybody, so it's not just happening with private bots and at the highest levels, right? Like here's a service that's available to anybody, right? Anybody can go buy the token, and you can take advantage of the service. And if you don't agree with the fee, you don't agree with anything, like that's fine,
right?
The other thing too that was interesting is, I think the best argument that I heard early on was like, oh, it's like 35%, I think, was the initial for the token, right? And it's just like, well, if you had a scholar, just think of them as a scholar, because you'd be splitting potentially 50-50 with a scholar. I mean, you know, one of the advantages that bots have over humans is they don't stop. They can play all day long. Yeah, you know, the argument I think will go on until infinity at this point, in terms of, is a bot better or a human better, right? And I think that there's no right answer to that. But you know, ultimately, that told me that it's just like, okay, well, certain people aren't understanding what this is like from a scholar model, right? And how you could view it from that perspective. And then finally, and this is probably the one that makes me chuckle the most, is like, people were upset about this, and it's just like, wait a second, you're hiring something and paying so that it can play a game for you while you are away, like why are you not as incentivized to play the damn game on your own? You know what I mean? Like, again, it came back down to, and this is something that the broader community and the team, I would say, is struggling with right now, like game versus investment, and where do we focus, like features and all that. And it's just like I love playing the game. And, you know, I come in and it's just like, oh, if I'm wanting to maximize the earnings on my account, it's not like really a game anymore. And so like people were viewing this very much as an investment. And I think that's fine. You can view it as an investment, right? But then it just becomes about like, what's your cost benefit analysis? Like, are you making the right things? Are you doing what you need to do to make sure that you're operating at a profit, utilizing a service like ARCHMAGE? Right. And if ARCHMAGE is going to raise their prices, I mean, that's what happens when in investments and business and stuff like that. Right. So sometimes that is going to happen, and you're going to have to pivot as a business owner. And again, now we're not even talking about a game, right? Because if this was a game, you'd just be going in and playing the game, but you want to find a way to play the game and have a bot on it too. Again, I'm not trying to like, you know, poke at anybody specifically. It's just funny to me that like, this is the narrative around the situation. Because before that, it was like you had to play the damn game if you wanted to earn your rewards. And now you have a bot that will play for you, right? You have a service that will play for you, and you're complaining about it taking 35% of rewards that you would never get. So you know what I'm saying? Like that again.
And not even 35% of a specific subset of the rewards.
Set. Exactly. Yeah.
And by the way, the way that the math works out, overall, what I've seen is that the real percentage, even at 35% of SPS, is anywhere from like 25% at the high end to 11% at the low end in terms of actual value generated through the through the service. So, but your point still stands, right? Like it's such an interesting world that we live in, where it's like, yeah, we got this strange mix of investment, game, etc. And honestly, I think the reality is, part of what we saw in that initial backlash when we launched the fees is that there were a number of users who had hopped on, who I will say were not our primary ideal target, right?
Yeah.
Not who we were designing the service for, which we are designing the service to enable real people who love the game that with that want to make sure that the assets are working for them, right? Where it's not like we aren't going after the people that the exclusive thing on their mind is ROI.
Yeah.
While that's there and that's a part of it, that's not who we're going after. We are going after the people who they're looking for a service that helps them win at a high level, even when they can't play, that makes sure that their assets are going to work even when they can't play. Yet they care about being able to play brawls and tournaments, right? Which is one of those differentiations, right? When you're looking at just maximizing your return, maybe it makes more sense to rent. Maybe it makes more sense to go the scholar route. I don't know, but if you rent or if you go the scholar route, you don't get to play those cards, right? In either one of those circumstances. And so this is geared toward the people that like it matters to them to be able to participate in their brawls, to be able to potentially participate in tournaments, to be able to play a handful of manual games or hop in, hop out, right? So that's really who we're geared toward, and that's part of what we found is that honestly, while we had attrition for sure, what we saw is that really solidly the market told us that there was demand for what we're offering. We saw anywhere from 70 to 80% of our users continue and stick around even when we launched billing. Now there's some level of whatchamacallit, the reason why those numbers aren't exact is because there's the time period of like we implemented billing, so accounts shut off, and then people like slowly realized, oh, my account's not playing. Yeah. I need to come in and get it set up. So that's why we're not positive on the exact numbers. I think it's probably close to about 80% decided to continue. So we lost about 20% of people who were in that vein of not wanting to pay the fees, thinking it was too high, whatever combination of things. And honestly, for the most part, I would say they likely just weren't our ideal who we were going after, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, and so yeah, just like you said, it's like we're this interesting world that people are wrestling with, and really it goes to the heart of the of all of the salt in the ball, in the bot discussion period of we are not used to this dynamic of that mixture of play to earn, where you're playing a game but there's also value that's being generated, and like where does automation become too much of a problem? Where does automation fit in? Where is it okay? What's that balance? And really, as a community, we are all sorting that out. We are all together figuring out where those lines are, where that balance is. And anybody who claims to have a clear, exact answer, I think, is honestly fooling themselves, because we're in a new paradigm that I don't think has existed before. Right? Most of what you see when we look at other gaming and other gaming environments, there isn't a mechanism where you get paid literally for every game you win. There isn't that's not something that has existed.
It's not common. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. This is definitely a new space.
And so like, those dynamics, I think, definitely factor into what will work, what won't work. And yeah, I mean, we're still all figuring it out, but overall, I mean, where we are when it comes to billing, where we are in terms of how we're set up, we know that we are geared toward real people who love the game, that want to be able to leverage some level of automation, but they care about the game. And as a result, that's a big part of, not only is it a position that matters to us, but it's a position that we think it stands the best chance of being viable into the future. Yeah. Because what I could tell you is that the Splinterlands team has made some awesome, smart decisions, in my opinion, around fixing the problem that is against that, right? Around fixing some of these problems that incentivized too much of the just, massive amounts of accounts, extracting as much as possible, there was a drastic incentive to farm and extract. And that's not what we're geared toward. And so when we're looking at, our service makes sense, continues to be viable in the future that we see for Splinterlands, which is that we as a community, that the Splinterlands team, that the community itself, that we keep coming up with good ideas that more and more incentivizes real players, consolidating accounts, consolidating assets, leveling up, investing in the game, sticking around in the game because they like the game, and not exclusively because they're looking at an immediate ROI.
Yeah.
I think the more that we could build that community, the stronger the game is, and that's what we're trying to be in alignment with.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it, man. It's a fun place to be in right now.
Right.
It's also incredibly frustrating because and it's funny because we also don't know what we don't know, right? And part of the thing is that you have really smart people in the community that see an advantage and take it, or see an exploit and take advantage of it, right? Or see something. And I always say there's no judgment. I'm never going to judge how you make your money unless it's like, hookers and blow or whatever. Unless it's something like super illegal. But it's just like if you're smart enough to see something and take advantage of it, like more power to you, right? Like you're smarter than the rest of us, and we're all just jealous. Now some people they'll try to do the utilitarian thing where they bring those exploits to the team, and I think that's always like appreciated. But the point is that we're very much in uncharted territory, as you said. And so this has been an interesting space to play. And I think it's been really difficult because, I keep saying we're paying for the sins of the SPS airdrop, right? Like all that DEC was printed, and that's just causing a huge, storm, a huge, just like thing for us to get through. But to your point, there have been some really, really solid moves taken by the team. And I know it ends up hurting a lot of the players at the lower leagues just because it's like, well, we have to focus on making sure, cards are leveled up, or incentivizing the right things, and not just incentivizing the right things, but, disincentivizing the wrong things, or that could be detrimental to the economy. So I'm happy with what the team has done. I mean, I didn't feel it for the first time until the recent but the card level update happened. And I was playing in gold, and I was just like, oh, all right, my rewards were nerfed. This is what it feels like. It kind of sucks.
Right. Yeah, and I'm seeing the same thing with mine. I got like a mostly bronze capped deck that I've been playing in gold. And so I'm feeling that nerf too. I'm feeling that reward drop.
But the truth of the matter is, like, they had to do it, right? And ultimately it comes down to the highest amount of rewards should be given out at the highest levels, right? Like who gets paid the most when it comes to basketball players? Yeah, I mean the ones in the NBA who are like the best of the best. If you're in the D League, or if you're playing in the lower leagues, whatever it is, like you're not going to be making the same amount of money. So I think that money will always funnel to the top, and usually that comes in the form of like sponsorships and endorsements, and however that's organized. But here you have a play to earn game where the mechanism is that everybody who plays can make money. Like I can't tell you how many hours of basketball I played throughout my life. It's a lot. And if I had gotten paid even just a little bit, like even just a fraction of LeBron's salary, a fraction of LeBron's salary for playing, I would have been pretty happy because I was doing it because I enjoyed it. And so, I think we're definitely getting to a point here where I've been saying since the summer, like investors are being washed out because the ROI just isn't there across a lot of investments across the entire market, right? And people are just down big. So the people that you're going to get left with are the ones who enjoy playing the game and would choose this over a Hearthstone or a Magic the Gathering or any other kind of game that you can compare it to, just because they get to own their assets, they get to earn a little something on the side, and hopefully we do get that account progression with the soulbound cards and maybe battle pass and all the stuff that's been teased or talked about. And I'm just curious if we can make a little bit of a pivot here, since there has been so much talked about. How are you feeling about these soulbound reward cards? And I will preface this by saying it's not that it really affects you guys in any way, because that was, cards were never part of the fees, but more so on a personal level. When you look at this, I've been seeing a lot of back and forth, a lot of very polarizing opinions on it. So I'm just curious to know what you think.
Yeah. So I like, this is a great topic to pivot to. So, what you're just talking about is this idea of we have had a lot of investors that were purely in the space for investing, right? Purely in the space for that quick, simple ROI that could be made. And looking at this from like a business standpoint, for sake of this project overall, Splinterlands, not ARCHMAGE, but for Splinterlands, that is the kind of the kind of segment that the only way to win is to always have the highest ROI, or to always be the most earning. And that is generally an untenable thing. That's not something that you can hold on to forever. You're not always going to be the best. And what sucks in that sort of model is that as soon as you're not the best, it's not like it just goes down a little bit. It collapses, right? If you're not the best, then the money exits to wherever the best return is. And so what I love about this move is I think that in this space, we're starting to see that play to earn is not sustainable. Instead, we need to focus on play and earn, right? So if the goal is to play to make money, it's not going to be sustainable that everybody is going to be able to make enough to make that feel worthwhile, where you are literally thinking about this as, I am doing this as my job, or I am doing this as the way that I earn income, right? That's not sustainable. Most people won't be able to do that, right? Most people aren't going to be able to play a game in order to earn their income, not over the long run. I mean, I think we might be in the early enough stages that we still are seeing people come up and develop and figure that out. But at any given level, you have to expect that in terms of the way that value flows, it is not likely that everyone will be able to like make a living playing a video game.
Everyone also won't make money,
right?
I mean, this is people forget this is a zero sum like game, and I'm talking about metaphorically. Like, this is a zero sum game, meaning that when you earn something, it is coming from somebody else, which is crazy because we also exist in a space where money and tokens are printed out of thin air, Splinterlands included, right? Like, I mean, we're just printing stuff that people arbitrarily give value to,
right?
And somebody's going to value it one over the other, and somebody's going to sell it for that, and somebody's going to buy it for that. But it's a zero sum game, so not everybody will make money. Some people, if you make money, you're taking it from someone else.
Yeah, and so people really need to decide, like, do they feel like they can participate in this space? Because there will be people who make money. But just like anything, the Pareto principle applies to this. Or Pareto, I'm pretty sure.
80-20?
80-20 rule, right? That approximately 20% of the people are probably going to earn 80% of the rewards, right? And that is likely going to be the case overall. That's because that tends to be the way that nature resolves itself on these sorts of things. It tends to be a fractal distribution, not a bell curve. And as a result, people should expect that, right? Like, I don't expect that when I go to the movies that I'm going to pay for popcorn, I'm going to pay for my movie ticket, I'm going to pay for the gas to get there, and have that be a net positive on my income. I'm expecting that what I'm doing is I'm paying for the entertainment, and what I get in exchange is the entertainment. Now, that being said, are there people who get paid to go to the movies? Yeah. Like, that exists, right? Like, there are people I'm sure that get paid to they get to be movie critics. They get to be paid testers, to go and do the equivalent of like a secret shopper where they see how that movie theater is performing or whatever, right? Like there are people who get paid to do that activity, but it is 1% out of if that high, out of everybody who goes to the movies, right? And so with this, exactly like you're saying, with this game, we should not expect that most people are going to pay and make money in a net positive way. They might, and hopefully this is the case, they might pay and at least keep their money, right? Like, that's a cool thing where like you can, and this is probably not even most, but there might be a decent segment who you buy cards and they hold their value, right? And you can put them into use and whatnot, but it's not likely that everything is always going to go up and that you're always going to be able to make money. And so that to me, that shift to understanding that, to say what we have to do is we have to attract people who enjoy this game, enjoy this process, enjoy playing, enjoy being in the ecosystem. That's super important, because those people will hopefully stick around regardless of if the money's there, if they're not getting an ROI. And for as much as people misunderstand the whole bot environment, like, ARCHMAGE is in this weird space of, we have a lot of those people where like, where yes, that like we want to automate some level of this because we don't have time to play it constantly to maximize the rewards, but at the same time, I'm not like selling anything that I get out of this. I'm just investing more into the game and making my deck stronger, and then taking the time to, you know, to play brawls and enjoy those, and like I'm still participating in the game itself. And enjoying the game itself, and that's a big part of what's happening here, and that's what a lot of our users are doing. And so, going to the original question of rewards cards and soulbound rewards cards, I think that's a super positive step. I think in terms of how it gets implemented, I'm really curious to see if there can be some level of a way where the team can set it up so people can have their cake and eat it too, in a little bit of a way. Like one of the ideas that I put out and thought about is like maybe they're soulbound for like a year, and then you can sell them. Right. Or then you could then they're liquid again or whatever. Right. So that way you're still disincentivizing that immediate churn of cards where you farm and then they flood the market. And you essentially, people would have to have a year-long runway in order to potentially even be able to sell anything. And that removes a lot of people from the space. And so I think that that could be a good way. I've heard a lot of great ideas for, you know, potential systems to say, how do we still make it feel like you're earning a real asset that you could sell, but do it in a way that doesn't drastically incentivize these bot farms, right? The massive extraction. And so I think there's still a worthwhile discussion to expand that and flesh that out. But I could tell you, in terms of running the math and looking at the numbers, getting rid of rewards cards being a sellable thing overnight, especially in the lower leagues, takes care of easily 50 to 75% of the revenue that those accounts are generating, like easily.
I've heard it's actually less significant than that. I've heard it's only like 25%, and the majority comes from SPS. But maybe
when I'm running the math and looking at the value and how it stacks up compared to cards overall on an account, and I've done this a number of times when I'm looking to see what people are paying as a percentage. I could be off, but as long as
I could be off. I mean, I'm giving you secondhand information. You're actually talking about running the stuff, so please.
Right. And so yeah, when I look at it, I mean, pretty readily I see it's in the lower leagues. Now that is a caveat. Sure. In the lower leagues, you know, bronze, silver, even into gold, the percentage of the rewards that are coming from cards is easily 50% in terms of total sellable value. As you get into the higher leagues, sure, if you're playing in Champion League, most of your rewards are going to be SPS. That is a very strong percentage of your rewards, and most of that is actually the battle rewards.
Sure.
But in the lower leagues,
but it's the lower leagues that we're worried about,
exactly,
because that's where the farming happens.
Exactly. And so like I could tell you that goes into play, and overnight we see a massive amount of the bot farms just not having the incentive to keep operating. And so like I think that as a like the pain of what that does for people who are, you know, trying to sell assets and trying to use that as a strategy for even if it's not for sake of extraction, even if it's for sake of like they're trying to sell the rewards cards in order to grow their collection in a different way, right? Like even if it's that, I think even the pain of that is worth removing the incentive for, you know, people who are able to at scale extract massive amounts of these cards from the ecosystem. And so I hope that the team at Splinterlands is still stewing on the idea and listening to some of the feedback in terms of trying to come out with a solution that we could still all feel really great about. Like hopefully there's still some way to be able to sell them, but if not, I still think there's a worthwhile thing here. And just like you said, I don't think it's realistic for us to expect that everybody's going to be able to make money off of the game. That's if we could figure that out, that's awesome, and I would love it. But real world, I don't think that's achievable. You know?
No, I mean a lot of great points here. I'm gonna take it back and then make my way back to the front.
Sounds good.
So you mentioned the shift from play to earn to play and earn, which I like, but my shift, and again, I've just been thinking about it this way is the shift to asset ownership, right?
Right.
And so one of the big arguments against soulbound reward cards is people are just like, oh, well, this game build itself is like you get to own your own assets, and now they're not giving any assets. And I'm like, well, you own the assets that you buy. Like for every card pack that you buy or buy off the market, it's yours. But you know, the rewards are no longer going to be that way because they've been exploited to hell, as we've seen. Now, again, am I disappointed in less earnings? Sure. Can I see the argument to take one for the team so that we can get rid of the bot farms and the poor incentives? Then yeah, I can. I mean, it sucks, but this is what it comes back to. Like, who is playing this game because they enjoy it and they can get a lot out of it, and it's the entertainment value, as you gave your analogy with the movie, right? Like where am I going in where I can spend money, right? Own the assets and choose to sell them at a later date. Hopefully, if you give it on a long enough time frame, they are scarce and will go up. And I'm talking about specifically Chaos Legion cards, Rift Watcher cards, right? And so to me, like, I'm actually very fine with it, and somewhat bullish on the move. I think that it could be a great thing. Once again, when I see a lot of the salt around soulbound cards, I get it, because people have invested a lot, right? People bought cards right when Chaos came out, and they were, you know, these cards were super expensive, and all they've done is see their assets go down in value. And you know, part of that is the market, part of that is the team not attacking the problems quickly enough, and part of that is just like the exploits not being, you know, found or discovered, or new exploits being found. But ultimately, I see it as the right move, and I'm okay with more soulbound things, because at the end of the day, like, the game shouldn't be about earning. If you want, and I tell people this all the time, if you want to make money, if you want to make real money in Splinterlands, don't play the game. Like, stay in the liquidity pools. I mean, those things are paying so much, right? Like, if you come in here talking about making capital and want like limited downside, put your money in the liquidity pools, and then you don't have to do anything. That's passive income. You don't have to worry about what ARCHMAGE is charging with their fees and what all the people like. I mean, that's how you make money from an investment DeFi side. If you're here for the game, buy cards and pay what you think is the value for them. Stop looking at as an ROI. And sure, if you want to think about it as an NFT, meaning that it is you know, some kind of card that has or digitized card that might have value in the future due to its scarcity, then sure, you can. But understand, you're taking that risk that the team is going to ensure that their assets do appreciate over time, which once again, on a long enough time horizon, they have shown that they have the ability to do. Will they do the same with Chaos Legion? I don't know. I mean, this is a hell of a lot of cards, right? They essentially did a 10x. So Chaos Legion could be, you know, Chaos Legion might end up being the black sheep of the family, because maybe when Rebellion comes out, they're like, yeah, we're going to do 10 million packs, right? We learned our lesson. And all of us are here holding the bag being like, oh, well, that sucks. So yeah. But the point is that, like, you know, ultimately, I think soulbound cards are, I think they're worthwhile to explore, and I think the team should do it. Now, the only issue that I personally have with soulbound cards is that they are not available to everybody else. So my solution, I literally just came up with this while I was talking to you, is I don't think soulbound cards should ever go out of print. I don't think there should be a print number. And the reason I say this is because let's say right now there's, you know, let's say that the current cards were what is that called? Soulbound. Or soulbound rewards. So something like a Jin O'Shaunish, for example, one of the most powerful ones, or Venator Kinjo. Like, it would suck if I came into the game later and it wasn't available to me and I couldn't even buy it. Because right now, something like Elmo Cambio, which is an untamed rewards card, I can get it if I want to, if I'm willing to pay the price. But the fact that it won't even be accessible to those in the future kind of sucks to me. So I almost think about it in the same way as the Gladiator cards. And I don't know what the print rates or not for Gladiator cards are, but my thought is it would be cool. And somebody mentioned this to me recently, I think on the previous live stream, but it's like, what if it was like a Pokemon style where you get to pick which card you are leveling up? So it's almost like you are choosing what card to progress, right? Here's the list. Here's all of the new cards, and you get to choose which card you progress. And so at some point in the future, let's say in a year or 2 years from now, somebody joins the game. They will look at this and say, oh, well, it's, you know, there's no anti-competitiveness, because it's like that guy has a Jin O'Shaughnessy and I will never even have access to that. It's, oh, he deserves it because he's been playing the game for the last 2 years and he's leveled his up. So now I need to play and level mine up. But over time, they can just release more and more cards. Does that make sense?
It does. I like that idea, because it makes it it at least gives everyone a path. It gives everyone a path.
Exactly. Yeah.
And further, I mean, one of the things that's interesting about this game as well is like the the meta is constantly changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Exactly.
as they release new cards, there are some of the older cards that make sense to have. There are some of the older cards that maybe don't make as much sense to have anymore. They're not as powerful as they once were. I could imagine that sort of scenario being at play too, where somebody who's been around for a while, they have an advantage in that they've leveled up more cards,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, somebody coming in new and learning the game can be more selective and say, oh, this is the important card for me to level right now, given the current state of the game. And still ultimately, especially with like the way that that Modern versus Wild works, ultimately, if you come in, you put in the time and you stick around, you can get yourself on an equal footing as anybody, anybody who got here earlier, at least in Modern, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I like that idea, and they could be more choosy about like, okay, I'm coming in, let me do some research. I need to optimize this card first because this is going to be my most important right now to get leveled. Yeah, I love that idea. That sounds great. What are the other ideas? Actually, Imposter from our team, he had voiced this to Matt and talked about. It would be cool if we could tokenize spellbooks. So currently, spellbooks themselves are account bound, right? They're tied to your Hive account. It would be cool if those could be tokenized, so that essentially you could mint and create an NFT that is all of your
account
soul bound type rewards that could then be sellable. Now, what's nice about that is that it makes it that the assets that you've put together, they are a sellable asset in theoretically a safe to do way, if you could tokenize it and then do it on the market. But it's still set up where it's since you're getting a lump sum of stuff, and they can't be merged. They can't you can't buy a spell book and merge them together or something, would probably be how you have to do it, so that you just so that you don't just essentially add another step to selling rewards cards, if that makes sense. But if you do that, then there's still a sellable asset where you could say, okay, this is something that I've put in the work. I've got a bunch of rewards cards. Somebody would find value in that, being able to use this to build off of rather than starting from scratch. That could be a way to have a little bit of have your cake and eat it too as well. And maybe a combination of both, right? Where you could, all of the cards are available, but you could choose which one you're focusing on, which one you're leveling. Because I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, people ultimately, decisions have to be made where we are going to have to sacrifice some element of what is going on right now in order to hopefully have a better overall future, right? And that's going to have consequences. Every like, the reality is that the same exploits that bot farms have been working off of, players were leveraging too. Like, real players were leveraging, because it's not an exploit if a human is doing it, but like before they introduced the 50% ECR penalty, lots of players were able to put in more than 50 battles a day, and farm rating points as a result of that, and earn more earnings as a result of being able to abnormally grow the rating, right? And it may not be something that you were doing every day, but it was a thing that you could do, right? And so now that's not really a good option, right? Like, that's not a
I would just, for semantics, I would say that it's still an exploit. It's just the problem is that bots can do it at scale, right? So but yeah, I agree.
And so the by fixing that, by patching that, there is a negative to humans, because like the reality is, at a basic level, I mean, I don't know, not getting into the full specifics of the rating system, like at a high level, humans being willing to put in over 100 battles in a day, that's a good thing for the game, right? Like humans being willing to do that. That's good. That's a good thing that ultimately shows a value in the game, in the ecosystem, ultimately creating value for the assets that we all hold, right? The problem is that, just like you said, it's something that a bot could do at scale, and so a disproportionate amount of the incentive actually went to robots rather than humans.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but as a result, that change being implemented did hurt humans who were willing to put in that work. But again, sometimes we have to make those sacrifices, because the overall process is better when it's disproportionately advantageous to robots, especially. So and rewards cards right now are disproportionately advantageous to automation.
Yeah, I think someone who's it, Tails, who like posted something on Twitter, was just like, the top like farm, or the top bot farm, has like 7 million cards or 70 million cards, something like that. I mean,
yeah,
there's your 80-20. I mean, it might even be more than that, right?
Exactly. So. Yeah, and going to that, I mean, really, I think the reality of the world that we are likely moving toward with this game, if it's going to work, is that people need to expect that most people will need to be playing for fun, and a percentage of people will be able to play to earn. Right? Just like it currently is in normal esports, right? Not everybody is earning like Ninja. Not everybody is even earning at even a remotely profitable level. Most people are playing Fortnite because they have fun. They're playing it to have fun, to play with their friends. Maybe they play in some tournaments. Maybe occasionally they take in some prizes, but most people are not like doing it as the way that they earn money. And just because there's real ownership of assets here doesn't mean that suddenly changes those dynamics. It's still, most people will not be able to earn by playing, I think.
I love the Fortnite example, because I do have experience playing Fortnite. So it's just like, because of that, if any money that I spend in Fortnite is gone. Whereas now, like, yes, our asset value is down, sure, but if I wanted to exit, I could still exit for whatever they're worth, right? And they're not zero, right? It's not zero. It's a non-zero thing. So, or I could continue to hold on, rent my cards out, leave the game if I wanted to, and then come back around when the market might potentially be better, while still earning something of value for them potentially.
Right. Well, yeah, and exactly. Like, I think, like my son really loves Fortnite, and he plays Fortnite a lot. Literally at this point, he's been playing for, I don't know, I think at least multiple years. He's not super old, so he's not been playing his whole life or anything. But I like, from the very beginning of like when we got a battle pass and started earning skins and whatnot, the thing that he was super excited about was that someday he hoped that Spider-Man would come available and be a skin, right? Like, he wanted Spider-Man. And so I don't, I'm not sure how much you've been following Fortnite, but in the past couple of seasons, Spider-Man has been an available skin. And so like he put in all this time of continually playing and effort, and now like he got to realize this dream of, I get to be Spider-Man in the game, right? And what would be even cooler to me is if he got to have that experience of, I put in the work, I put in the effort to earn the skin, and then someday down the line, that work, because Spider-Man is going to be a very desirable skin, maybe he could sell it. Right. Maybe he could say, I don't play Fortnite anymore. I've grown up. I've got a family, but like the game still exists. And maybe he could sell it. Like it could be a thing that he put in the time, and it wasn't about earning the money,
but it accrued value from his effort that he put in.
Exactly. And that to me is the promise of the asset ownership, like you're describing, right? That it's not that everything is going to be equally valuable, and that all the assets are going to go up. But hopefully that if we put together this community that we enjoy, that we play, that we have fun in it, that after a while, everybody could extract some value out of the time that they put in, right? Maybe not as much as they have put in, but at least some value. And that a segment of people will be able to literally extract enough value to do it as like their full-time thing, as do it as a way to earn income. Not everybody, but some people. And shoot, we see that already, that there are people doing that. There are people able to do that.
I mean, the thing is, even if you are able to do it at the lower levels, for example, right? Like, I want, and this, people are gonna people are going to jump on this because of the mobile experience, right? But but I do think that is something that they should work towards. But
I agree.
It's the idea of like, I want Splinterlands, even with its complexity,
right,
to replace Candy Crush.
Yes.
When somebody is on the train, on the toilet, right? Or the traveling, or sitting down, or bored with whatever's on TV and play, like, it would be cool where anytime somebody would go to one of those original Web 2 games, now they can go to a Web 3 game, and they can go to a Web 3 game, and who knows, even if they're just earning a couple bucks, it's just like, hey, you know, all that time that I used to play Candy Crush and now I'm playing Splinterlands, it bought me dinner tonight, or it bought me a coffee this morning, right? Like, again, it's that kind of thing where I think it's sustainable, and that's the appeal. We just got so punch drunk with it last year because Axie Infinity was like, yo, people in the Philippines are making $25 a day, and it's enough for them to live on, which is amazing. But as we've said, unsustainable, and at the top of an incredibly frothy bull market.
Right. Well, and what's interesting to me though is that, like, in even when like we're getting, I think we're getting hit with a lot of realism right now about the extent of it, but I do think that there's still a massive message of hope and potential even with that, because the reality is that so much of the opportunity in our world, and this is something that Aggie talks about, so much of the opportunity in the world is really based on the luck of where you were born, who your parents were, the area that you were born into, the politics of your region, the infrastructure in your region. And what's cool is that the rise of cryptocurrency and things like, you know, play to earn gaming, crypto games, and just in general, things like Hive and all of that, is that it is starting to become less and less important exactly where you were born. And that, yes, not everybody in a country like the Philippines is potentially going to be able to earn enough through playing a game to be something that's, like, you know, fully life-changing. But the people anywhere in the world who are willing to put in the time, put in the effort, master the game and learn it, that where you were born doesn't have to be that deciding factor as much anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And so while it may not be game changing for everybody, it at least removes one of the things that arbitrarily held people back, which was where you were born. That now it doesn't matter where. You know, Nifty Arcade, with what they're doing with being able to essentially turn Splinterlands into a free-to-play game, where you could get access to high-level decks, pay a percentage off of that, but still earn for no investment on your own. That there does start to become an opportunity for people to earn through being able to play. And again, it's not an easy path. You still have to learn the game, get good at it, be able to make good decisions and play well. And not everybody's going to do that. The basic distribution graph is going to say that, you know, 50% or more people are going to be average and are going to be the ones that others are getting the wins off of, right? And then 50% or better are going to be the people that overall are getting more of the wins. And so you still have to put in the work. You still have to be better. You still have to actually have a skill set here that you develop and work on and put in the time and effort to grow and learn. But no longer does it have to be that just because you were born in the Philippines, or, you know, born in Nigeria, or born in Mexico, or born in Canada, or born in the US, born in Europe, wherever, doesn't have to be the thing that makes a difference. And I think that's powerful, even if, you know, like you said, we got a little bit punch drunk off of those 30x gains, but
sure. Yeah, no, I mean, to your point, like I'm a full believer in that. I know Aggie's mentioned it too, but the promise of crypto to me was always the accessibility of it, right? Like, the best example that I can give right now is, you know, imagine you were in, you know, one of these like impoverished countries, or, you know, you didn't have much available, but you had an income and you were doing okay.
Right.
And you knew in 1999 in 1999 or 2000, you looked at the market and you were just like, again, not living in the US, but you're like, Apple's going to be big, or Amazon's going to be big,
right?
Or Facebook wasn't there. But you get what I'm saying? Like, they didn't have access to it because it's not a global market. Whereas crypto, I mean, there are businesses, projects, all these things being built upon it. And sure, maybe in your jurisdiction, your country, whatever, there might be some, you know, loops or hoops that you have to jump through. You'll have to learn how to do P2P if it's not available. But most countries haven't like outright banned it outside of China. Right. So the idea is that like this technology is coming in one shape or another. There's going to be a lot of scams, just like my mom when the internet first, when the internet first came out, she's like, I'm never going to put my credit card on there. And now she's using my Amazon account all the time, right? she doesn't even need, she used to call me before and be like, hey, can you buy this thing for me? Here's my credit card. And now she's just, I'm like, I get an email that says, you've made a purchase. And I was like, I did not. I'd be like, oh, it's being shipped to her house. That's what's going on. So,
nice.
But yeah, it's I agree with you. I think, the accessibility is there. People can look and see what kind of projects are available. Right. And, again, be careful. This is your hard-earned capital that you're spending. And even on a game like Splinterlands, there's no guarantee that it will succeed. But, obviously I, many others are spending time really diving into the economics around it and think that there's definitely a future.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it is. I think, the roller coaster of the market itself. I think we as a community, the crypto community in general, especially the Splinterlands and play to earn community and whatnot, we're feeling that. We're feeling we came off of a massive high and we're feeling the valley that we're in currently. But I think long term, just the game changing aspect of being able to say like sure, it may not be your living, but like we can play games and have that accrue at least some level of real ownership and real asset generation and real value creation and just the opportunities that creates in the world. I mean, you mentioned within the Splinterlands ecosystem self, you mentioned it's a zero-sum game. I think honestly, when I look overall at the level of interconnection that the crypto sort of ethos starts to bring to the world, I personally have a belief that there's actually an abundance creation that happens, that anytime that value is created, where there's a new novel idea, that it grows the pie, it grows the value that's available. Because even currency itself is a creation of our mind, right? It's a story that we as humans tell ourselves. And so while there are finite resources, there's like infinite ability to figure out how to use those resources, how to leverage those resources. And it's not a perfect, easy thing to wrestle with. And there are zero-sum situations. I do think overall that the kind of value that's being created through crypto won't just go and reshuffle the pot to different people, that there is an overall elevation of humanity that happens through that process. Yet even still, while everybody gets elevated, there is always going to be some level of a disproportionate amount of that goes to some more than others. And hopefully we can at least get into a scenario where if that distribution is going to be not completely even, if it hopefully as much as possible, it's at least done through merit and done through value and done through what are you bringing to the table, what value you're creating, and that we can even the playing field of the places that people could create that value from, so that it is at least ultimately resting on the shoulders of what are you doing to create value in the world. And that's what dictates what you're getting out of it, right? So the more that you put in and create and develop on behalf of essentially on behalf of humanity, the more of that grown pie you get to take a slice of, right? So yeah, that's kind of my belief around some of that stuff.
No, I mean, I think that's really powerful, man. I mean, that's the value of decentralization when it comes to crypto, right? Or at least however much decentralization we can get. It's like, going back to ARCHMAGE, I mean, you guys are providing a service on the blockchain. Nobody can stop you, and you can't stop people from taking advantage of your services, right? Whereas, like, let's be real. I mean, you and I live in the U.S. and what is it? Less than 100 years ago, people were not able to participate in certain aspects of society until like the civil rights movement, right? Whereas now, it's like anybody can come in, and if you're good at what you do and you can provide value, you will, it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, where you're from, what your beliefs are. It's are you adding value to the network? And if you are, then, ideally you get rewarded for it if the network operates the way that most of these networks end up doing.
Exactly. I mean, that's the key, because I don't think we can as a society, we haven't seen a way to like fully and equally distribute all the value. Like that doesn't seem to be a it doesn't seem to be a thing that works, right? At least it hasn't practically worked. We haven't seen that work effectively. But what we can do is we can try as much as possible to remove stupid, arbitrary obstacles that prevent people from being able to tap into the same opportunities as everybody else. And that to me is big and powerful, and something that yeah, just like you mentioned, I'm super passionate about. Let's get rid of as much of these arbitrary obstacles as possible, and give people as much opportunity as they can, possibly wrap their hands around.
I'm glad you mentioned that. The concept that I really like, which I think encapsulates what you just said, is that it's not about equality of outcome. Right. It's about equality of opportunity. Right. Exactly. So making sure everybody's got a fair shot. Dude, I could do this literally all day with you, man. But I want to be respectful of your time. I also have a tentative hard stop that seemed to not be so hard. But I want to give you the floor if there's any other things that we may not have covered, but you just want to touch upon. If there's anything you want to shill outside of ARCHMAGE or shill within ARCHMAGE, please use this time to let the community know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, definitely if you are a Splinterlands player, you're looking to make sure that you have automation at your disposal to play your cards, but still be able to play games yourself, be able to participate in brawls, be able to participate in tournaments, play some manual games, and you get too busy to play the game as a whole yourself. ARCHMAGE.app, you can check us out, what we're up to there. We are going to be having a sale soon where we're going to be releasing some new tokens that you could get at the retail rate of $20. So stay tuned for that. That will be coming soon. But regardless of if we have a sale going on, you can always pick up tokens on the secondary market on Hive Engine. You're looking for ARCHMAGE or ARCHMAGE A or ARCHMAGE B are the tokens that can get you access. You can always check us out on ARCHMAGE.app is our website, and get official links and everything through there so that you can make sure you're getting what we actually intend and not some scam token or something like that. And then otherwise, I mean, so definitely check that out. But regardless, if you happen to have listened to this far and you are a Splinterlands player, I actually developed a service as well called Splinterlinks. That's splinterlinks.com. And what that is it's a collection of tools and links and content creators in the Splinterlands ecosystem, so you can see all sorts of different third-party projects and just useful links for you as a Splinterlands player. It's not all about automation. There's a number of great tools linked there. I have found that there are so many tools that it's very hard to keep them all top of mind. And so it's a community curated list of tools that people could vote on to say what they're using, what they're enjoying. You might possibly find a cool new project or a cool new creator that you want to dive into and add to your Splinterlands experience there. So we're constantly adding more. That's splinterlinks.com is the site. It's free to use. You can add links, you can vote, you can create an account with Discord profile at the moment. At some point, I really want to get it to be Web3 and be able to have Hive login and Hive voting and all that. But that's not where it is currently. So but it's at least a good, useful collection of links.
That is awesome, man. I did not realize this meal would come with a surprise dessert at the end. So I
there you go.
wish we had brought that up a little bit earlier. But appreciate you creating that. I'll make sure to get the link from you and put that into the show notes or the section below. But appreciate the time, man. This is always a lot of fun. Let's not wait so long to do it again.
Absolutely. We'll have to keep the chats going.
Sounds good, man.
All right.